Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here with yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. And whoa, we have got, we always bring you guys such special people, but this one is very, very close to my heart. I have been wanting to meet this person for so very long, ever since I picked up their book. God, 15, 20 years ago. Let me tell you who we have tonight. You guys, we have Judika Illes in the house. Judika Illes is the best-selling author of numerous books devoted to spells, spirits, and witchcraft, including the Encyclopedia of 5,000 spells and Encyclopedia of Spirits, as well as Pure Magic, Daily Magic, Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, Encyclopedia of Mystics, Saints, and Sages, and Witches. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, there's my workout for today, you guys. Also, a lifelong student, which Jenny and I love to have on this show because we too are lifelong students, lover and practitioner of magical arts. Judika is also the creator of two oracle decks, Magic Spells Oracle and Protection Spells, which I know Jenny has a copy of and she can hold up in a second, as well as a forthcoming Prosperity Spells deck. We're going to go here. There's so much more. She has been a professional tarot card reader for over 3 decades and is certified aromatherapist. A native New Yorker, Judika teaches in the United States and internationally, live, virtually, and comes on podcasts. So anyway, without further ado, Judika Illes, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I think that's the nicest introduction anyone has ever given me.
I gotta tell you, I have been on the witch scene for a little while now, reading from shop to shop. And I was on this at this little cute little witchy shop here in Denver, Colorado. And I just kept eyeballing this. This is about 15, 20 years ago, guys. And I was like, I can't leave home without this. And then all of a sudden, Jenny C. Bell is like, oh, Utica has a deck out and that it has crows on it. And I'm just like, if you would have told me 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, that I would have a podcast and have you on the show, I wouldn't have believed it. But here we are, my wonderful, wonderful witch friend.
You know, I don't think I would have believed it either. Uh, I mean, when I wrote that book, as I was saying, I didn't, folk magic was not as popular as it is now,
True.
or not as respected, all of the above. I didn't think anybody was going to read that book. I thought I was going to have to go back to selling makeup in the mall. And if you had told me that it's this many years later and I would be on this podcast and that I would be doing decks, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah, I know. People, this is how it works. This
Yeah.
is how it works. This is what magic looks like when it works. Speaking of spells and magic, in my little coven, which we call a kindred because we're more Norse on the Norse path, personally doing devotions there, I always say, we don't practice magic, we throw that shit down. And this is yet another
Right,
episode of
right.
throwing that shit down. I absolutely love it. Jenny, did you want to show? You have also her protection.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for being on here. We didn't mention this, but you're also an editor.
I
And
am.
yeah, and several of my friends who've had the opportunity to work with you speak so glowingly of you, our author
Oh,
friends. So shout out to them. So yeah, I also have protection spells, which I love.
for if you're watching, you can see, but there's these beautiful snake backing. And how I've been using them is when I read for our coven, I've used them a few times. They're actually very popular in there. I'll just pull one with like the whole reading. And then I'll read the whole spell on there. So what's cool about these, and also Magic Spells Oracle, which Granddaughter Crow already showed, that I love as someone who works with new witches, is how digestible this is. You know, a big book like Crow has is a little intimidating for some people. Some people look at that as like, heck yeah, this is my reference book for the rest of my life. I'm excited. Other people look at that and are like, I don't know.
It's a lot of
But
pages.
these, yeah, this is so digestible. And like
Yeah.
with each thing, you get like an entire spell on each one of these tiny little cards for the protection spells. It takes the scariness, the guesswork, the overwhelm out of witchcraft, and I love that. So I'm curious, like, what made you kind of go in the direction of these spell decks?
Well, I wanted it to be exactly as you described. I wanted it to be accessible and digestible. I mean, I think to some extent that's my gift. Even if you start to read 5,000 spells, and I know it's a big book with a lot of pages and it's a lot of book, but
Love it.
I I wrote it to be accessible. I think my gift is to take esoteric and complicated topics and make them accessible to, anybody can do a spell. Anybody can do a spell. All you have to do is be a human being with desires or fears, and you can cast a spell. It's not something that is super elite, or you have to have an incredibly high IQ, or you have to have a degree, or, you know, this is something that is our human heritage, and we can all do it. And I really believe that. And unfortunately, I have been financially challenged for a lot of my life. And so I wanted, like, with one of the things that I liked with prosperity spells was how reasonably it was priced because
Yeah.
tarot cards in general are not reasonably priced anymore. When I was a kid, you could buy a deck for $10 easily, and now everything is like $40, $50. So even 5,000 spells, there's a lot of book for that money. It is the equivalent of several books. So even though it is not as reasonable as prosperity spells, that was very important to me. Um, and I love cards. I collect postcards too. I love cards. I love that flash card. You could just take them out and, prosperity spells, you can learn prosperity magic from it. You could just do a card a day and it's very bite size. Oh, and the crows are important to me too. They're personal to me too. But going back to prosperity spells, you mentioned the snakes. One of the authors I work with, Elisa Einhorn, she's been reading the back of the cards. She's been reading the snakes, and I just find that so interesting. Like, are the snakes looking at each other? Which snakes? It's snakes and moons, and what kind of snakes and what kind of moons. And I think that's so interesting. I've been doing it myself now, and they're
I'm
different, not all
copying.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy that. And next time I do a reading, I'm gonna do that too. And maybe it'd be fun too to have people pick off of the snake, like
Mhm.
which one's calling to you.
Right.
And then that's the protection spell you need at this time.
Oh, I'm going to
I
do
love
that. I
that.
love that. I love that. I'm going to do that.
Love it too because it engages both the left logical
Right.
language side of us as well as that creative picture right hemisphere. And okay, you heard it here first, guys. This is what we're going to do. Start the new trend. First, you got to pick up the Protection Spells book by Judika, and then read both sides of the card. Pick the one that appeals to you the most, and let's start trending on TikTok. You know,
Yes.
I I
That's great.
I love what you're saying because I too am a person who does my best to take the most complex esoteric topics and try to distill it where I could tell it to a 6-year-old.
Right.
And I feel like that to me is the definition of genius. I really, really do. If you understand a topic well enough where you don't have to use the 5, 10, $20
Right.
words, I don't know, with inflation, God knows how much those words cost. But, with this whole idea of being able to do that. But speaking of 6-year-olds, I read somewhere that you started reading the tarot from the B.O.T.A deck at about age 6. Can you take us back there because
Yeah, but I wasn't reading for other people. I mean, I wasn't. I am. I am. I am a second child. I'm a happy accident baby. Um, my my only sibling is 12 years older than I am, and all my cousins, they're all 12 years older or older. So I grew up in a house. I mean, there were no children. I wasn't treated as a child.
gotcha.
And I learned how to read very early. I mean, because I could, but also because my parents had only come to the US a couple of years before I was born. My mother basically taught herself English by teaching me how to read. So my sister, when I was 6 and starting first grade, my sister was 18 and starting college, and she went to college in the East Village in New York City, around the corner I mean, this is a full circle story, around the corner from the old Weiser bookstore, the Samuel Weiser bookstore.
Wow.
And right? Um, and she would bring home stuff. And this is 1966. Sometimes she brought home record albums. I mean, it was all treasure. You know, I she brought home, Aretha Franklin and the Doors and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, I had that when it came out, but she brought home astrology books and numerology books and all sorts of esoteric material. And no one ever stopped me from reading anything.
Nice.
No one explained it to me. I had a house full of adult books, and I am a compulsive reader. And then one day she brought home this B.O.T.A deck, and I just fell in love with it. And if anybody's familiar with it, my sister was an art student. The B.O.T.A deck isn't, you're supposed to color it in. It's a black and white deck. You're supposed to color it in. It's got a lot of it's similar to the Rider-Waite Smith. It has a bit more of an Egyptian theme. I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I love coloring books.
Mm.
Although I still have that deck, and I've never colored that one in because I was so intimidated. I didn't think I would do it right. Um, but I still have I just fell in love with it. And I was very much self-taught. And I think it's a good thing. Nobody told me which were the good cards and which were the bad cards. I I make people laugh because I love the swords, but nobody told me that they were bad cards. I just developed my own relationship with them. I fell in love with them, and I'm still in love with them. I'm surrounded by tarot cards now. I did not start reading books about tarot until I was a teenager. So that was some year, the 70s, some years later. And then in 1988, I lost my last corporate job. And I thought, I know, I'll be a tarot reader.
There you go.
And then I panicked because I thought, I'm self-taught. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. And so I went and I took an adult class. It wasn't Learning Annex, but it was something similar to that. And I wasn't doing it wrong. And I found a coven. And, my life I started off on that circuitous route. So, and here I am.
Here you are. I just love this book. I just absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And
That makes me so happy. Thank you.
oh man, you make me so happy. Thank you. I mean, I just have to pick it up. You wrote it, you know.
It was, no one was very insulted. Like maybe a year or two after I wrote that book, I was at a festival and I was introduced as the author of that book, and someone whose name I will not mention because it's a pretty terrible person in general, but someone said, I didn't think anybody wrote that book. I thought like it was one of those things like Nancy Drew where you have different writers writing it. And I was so offended because I have a voice. And if you actually read the book, it's the same person writing it. But even now, I mean, I did not think anybody was going to read that book or like that book or buy that book. And so even now, this many years later, it's very meaningful for me when, people tell me that it's meaningful for them. That doesn't, that's never gotten old. That's never like changed.
I love that. Well, thank you because this isn't the only encyclopedia book.
You know why?
Why?
So I wrote that book. And I mean, when I wrote that book, I mean, it's like it's like we're on a different planet. Like no one was interested in folk magic, and not all of that book is folk magic, but a lot of that. It's sort of a panoramic view of a couple thousand years worth of spells from different sources, but a lot of it is folk magic because that's what interests me. But it wasn't popular and it wasn't respected, and I didn't think anyone would read it, and they wouldn't like it if they did. And I was never going to write another book again. And so, and I was very naive. I didn't know. No one taught me. Like I am an editor, but I try to sort of educate the people I work with as to how publishing works because I mean nobody told me anything. And when HarperCollins came to me and said, "You want to write another encyclopedia?" I thought, "Oh, I better sign a contract fast before they realize the first book isn't going to sell and I won't have another opportunity," not realizing that they knew already. And if it really wasn't going to sell, they wouldn't have offered me another book. I didn't know that. So I literally went from 1,000-page book to an Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, which is the second encyclopedia. There are four altogether. It is 800 something pages, but they originally wanted me to write one the same size as 5,000 spells, and I did. And then at the very last minute, the book was complete. It was ready to go to the printer. The printer offered the publisher a really good deal if we could get it down if we could cut 300 pages. And of course, the bean counter said yes. So we had really worked so hard. It was a great team there. The production team was just great. And it was the second encyclopedia, so I knew how to do it. So it was less harrowing than the first one. And I mean, to this day, I don't really know what's in that book 100%. I know what I wrote, but I cut some stuff out. The publisher, the team, they cut some stuff out. They cut things out I didn't know. And then there was stuff that I cut out, but they liked it, so they put it back. And then the typesetter came in on a weekend because we had worked on this book for a while. We had worked each section, we worked on it separately. So they were invested and they were very involved in it. The typesetter came in on a weekend to retypeset sections so that he could put back the parts that he liked. So to this day, I'm not 100% sure. I know what I wrote, but I'm not 100% sure what's in that book. But I like that. It's like the mystery of witchcraft.
I love that you're sharing with us some of the ins and outs of publishing because the landscape is changing, and we do have a lot of authors or people who are looking to be published, or to create a deck that listen to the show. And I think kind of showing them a little bit of the behind the scenes that it's okay to be a little freaked out when you're an author, but I also really love that full circle from your childhood, even
Right.
wiser. So much magic. Jenny, what other magical patterns are you seeing or questions that you want to ask Judika?
So many. But I as a lifelong learner, as a literature major, I got really excited about like how you write these massive books, and they're so deeply researched. I want to nerd out a moment with you, and I want to know about research because you're doing this pre everything at your fingertips on your phone. And so I want to hear, if you don't mind, a little bit about the research process and why you were more interested in folk magic, because I am also more interested in folk magic, and I'm just curious about that process.
Well, I could tell you the research easily. That's probably the easier question. I love researching. I love researching. Writing is work. I, it's Dorothy Parker, I think, who said, "I hate writing, but I love having written." And
Mm.
that's me. It's work, but research. I mean, to me, that's you go down these rabbit holes and you start digging, and it's sacred archaeology, and you don't know what you're going to find. And I love it. And I mean, I research constantly. I have books that haven't been published yet. I've been researching some of these for decades. I until it's done. I mean, I could do. I mean, we are going to do some in the future. There's going to be some little offshoots from 5,000 spells, also. Um, Something to look forward to in the future. But I love that. So that is, and I think this is characteristic of magical practitioners, witches in general. We have curious minds. We want to know, and I want to know. And so I'm always surprised by people who ask, a lot of questions because I just start digging. If you tell me something I don't know, a word I don't know, I'm going to look it up as soon as I step away from you. So that the research is pleasure. I love that. Why the folk magic? I don't. Why do we love anything? Why do I love one song and not love another song? I Some of it is maybe very visceral, and I don't know why. But I think some of it is also a class thing, or maybe an
Mm.
identification thing. What was respected, and I see a bit of a resurgence, and you know, I mean, everything should be respected. We all 5,000 spells is just to show you how many different types of spells there are. If you can find a dozen spells that suit you, you're lucky. People ask me sometimes, did I do all 5,000 spells? There are smallpox smell spells in there. I hope not. Oh yeah, there's a whole genre of magic about smallpox, which you can relate to other illnesses also. But I hope people don't need these spells. It's good to know they're there, but I hope that these are things that luckily we won't actually have to practice. Um, that high ritual magic, ceremonial magic, maybe not so much now, but traditionally, that is male magic. The people who practiced it were often theologians or theology students. It is often uses expensive materials. It's very time consuming. There's one spell in 5,000 spells, I think, that takes 7 days. Well, a lot of those spells assume you have a maid. You have somebody to clean up for you and maybe cook for you and do all the stuff for you. And you don't have children. You don't have a spouse who's yelling at you because why isn't dinner on the table? Um, Folk magic is, I mean, it's the magic of the folks. It's people who they need to cast a spell now. You have a problem now, and you will work with ingredients that you have in your home or that are affordable or that you can create yourself. You can create an oil lamp. That's not a hard thing to do. Candles used to be very expensive. And even now, I mean, if you want a fancy candle, that might not be something everybody can do. But you can take some Pyrex, fill it with oil, stick a cotton wick in there. You have got a magic lantern right there. And you can do, if you don't have Pyrex, you can do it with a pumpkin shell. You can a coconut shell. You can adapt. It's it. it sort of forces you to be creative and inventive and to look around and see the magic that surrounds you everywhere. And I love that. And my mother came from a village, and although my mother wasn't a practitioner per se, she was interested.
Mhm.
Mm.
And she knew stuff that people did. Like there's a couple spells in 5,000 Spells that my mother learned as a child from, she heard adults speaking and, things that you just did in the kitchen. Um, so I love that. I don't know, I love pop culture too. You know, I love I love rock and roll. I love, I have been a world traveler, but I've been flying home and really missed having a hamburger. It's just sort of American, real just sort of popular American food. As somebody whose roots are very shallow here, I love that. That was something that was very appealing to me. So all of that folk magic, folk culture, it's very interesting to me. And a lot of the books that I've worked on as an editor, Mexican magic and Italian folk magic. And I mean, these are books that start the work of Starkassus. It's very appealing to me because I love that kind of folk magic.
You know what's so beautiful that touches me about that individually? So I am Navajo, half Dutch. And now I am starting to write books about being a shaman, being a medicine person. And Jenny even pointed it out to me. She was like, oh, so now we don't have to depend on the male anthropologists that
Right.
we're watching and telling us it's actually the boots on the ground. We're here. And I'm hearing those tones from you that it's not about the theology and with the maid in this big house. It's about what did people do with smallpox? Like, what did people do? Like boots on the ground. It feels like, I don't even know, folk. It
Well,
feels,
you're giving me the chills. And I mean, more than you know, people ask me questions I am asked all the time. Where do the spells come from? And some of them, I mean, everyone can create spells. Magic spells are created by people and
yes.
tweaked by many generations after that. So some of them are very traditional spells. Some of them are spells I created. Some of them are spells that I have friends who gave them to me, people who gave them to me, but some of them come from books. And what kind of books? Very specific. I mean, everything comes through my filter. Even people who gave me spells, I adjusted them because I didn't want to, I don't want to plagiarize anybody. So, if I don't know where it comes from, then I have to put my own spin on it. But they come from, there was a whole genre of books, early 20th century, written by missionaries. And the missionaries would go around the world, and often they would have conversations with the shamans. And I tried to insert myself into the conversation because imagine you're a far seeing shaman and you can see the destruction of your culture. And the only person you have to speak with is this judgmental person who is facilitating the destruction of your culture. But this is it. This is the only person who's going to record this. So I tried to be like the translator. And I'm not saying I did it well, or not in all cases, certainly. I tried to figure out what was this person trying to say versus what this person ended up recording. And
Mhm.
Yes.
I worked with that. There's a big bibliography in 5,000 Spells, and I have had people tell me they have bought the book for the bibliography, and it is maybe it's worth it. There's a huge bibliography in that book. Um,
Probably 5,000 references. No, I just kidding.
there's a lot. Well, I did. I
5,000
did.
of,
I
I
did
love.
record every book that I used for something, and I mean, in some cases they're cookbooks, in some cases they're travel guides.
Mhm.
You can, if you're looking for that magic, you can extract it.
Yeah. And I love the way that you said that too, because I definitely understand in my DNA with the trying to translate it not just from one language to another, but one culture to
Right.
another, and not just one culture to another, but to a dominant thinker, a superior presenting body that, that kind of stuff.
A
And I read,
rigid person.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so look at it. We've got all these circles, back to I love it. So I think my cat wants to ask another question and or is turning it over to Jenny to ask another question because Lil D loves Jenny C. Bell.
Yeah, little D and I are best friends in our hearts, right, little D? Yeah, so I'm curious. You've seen like you've I've been practicing witchcraft also for like about 3 decades. And so you've been practicing a little longer. And so you've seen the landscape change, as we all have. I'm curious as to what you're thinking, like the current landscape is and how you kind of perceive the future landscape, just in general, like with trends you're seeing or themes you're seeing or how you're feeling, what's on the horizon.
I think I was actually talking to someone about this today. Interest in metaphysical topics is kind of tidal. Like it becomes really popular and even faddish for a couple years. Um, and then it kind of recedes. And every time it leaves maybe a few more practitioners, a few more interested people, and then it comes back out again. And I think we are due now for another, high tide. I think with more people, more spiritual questers, it's always interesting where we go. It's always something new. I will be honest, what concerns me is that I've been reading all these statistics about how, at least in the US, less people are reading in general. And that frightens me. We should all be reading. You should be reading everything you can get your hands on. Um, not just books that agree with you, not just books that validate what you already think.
Right.
Sometimes the book that challenges you, that you disagree with, it makes you think. Um, why? Why does this irritate me so much? Um, that's good because we want to grow. We want to be challenged and we want to grow and not just, oh yeah, I knew that. That's right. I don't have to know anything else anymore. But it does sort of scare me that people are reading less, maybe buying less books, maybe going to the library less. We don't have to buy the books. You can get free books from the library. Maybe supporting libraries less. That does concern me.
Yeah.
It's not
I
good for us.
Yeah, I agree. I was in a conversation with my husband the other day, and you know how everybody loves to blame everything on Mercury retrograde if the devil is not available, right?
Right.
Now,
Fix me.
my new line is censorship. So I'm walking around and it doesn't matter if he's like, "Oh, I went to the store and they didn't have orange juice." I'm all censorship. Like I'm blaming, but it's an actual joke, but it's because
It's not
that's
a joke. Although every time I read that a book has been banned, I buy it. Um, even just to put on the shelf. I don't like people, and I buy a paper copy. I read both. I read paper copies and I read digitally because my eyes are not what they used to be, and I like to be able to, have a backlit screen in the middle of the night. Right. But I buy a paper copy because and that's harder to take away from you than a digital copy.
yes. 100%. Such great insight too, because a lot of times I've been practicing and I'm very curious and I'm a lifetime time long learner. And I used to tell my son when he was growing up, it takes a very strong mind to entertain a thought that it does not adopt. So
Right.
be curious, son. Be curious, be curious, be curious. And when you get challenged, just that's okay too. This is what we mean about expanding our brains. But I'm also thinking about, you know, wow, how much more can we say about the moon? How much more can I talk about Mother Nature? How much more can we talk about the tarot? How much more? And what I'm hearing is, oh no, it's a wave, and we need to. This is maybe even what I'm hearing in my own spirit. For even the listeners, from what you just said, is like, oh no, we need to do it modernly. Give us this bridge between it is very old and ancient and the
Oh
folk,
yeah.
but then also maybe put it in a framework that it's more understood by today. What do you think about that? Because I'm struggling with that a little bit.
Well, I mean, both. I mean, it has to be vital and current. And, if something doesn't, only dead things don't change. I mean, if it's alive, it evolves. That, and I think with magic spells, you really see this because magic spell, the stereotypical, the cliched tools, and these are good tools, and use them, are wands and, crystal balls, but magic, if you can think of an of a thing, magic spells have been cast with it. As I mean, you'll see in 5,000 spells, there are spells that are cast with food, with beer, but also with emojis now, with laptop, computer. You can use anything. And so, whenever there's a new discovery, what are we going to do with it? How can it help us magically? It has to be relevant for people today because otherwise, it's like I don't know, you're studying a language that no one has spoken in 4,000 years. And I mean, that could be very interesting, but that's a whole different thing. Magic spells are to be used, and they are for magic spells are intended to make your life happier and better. And so I mean, maybe you are living like if you're living like people 4,000 years ago, then you can certainly do that. I mean, wasn't there that book like a year, like living like the Bible, like somebody who like lived like a biblical life for a year? Well, then you would cast the spells that work for that. But if you are a real modern person who's tech savvy, then those are the kind of spells that are going to help you now.
If you are enjoying this show, you can support it by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Also, connect with us. Leave a comment. Text the show option wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a review or email us at beliefbeingbeyond@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Patreon, where a small donation goes a long way. Find this and more episodes at granddaughtercrow.com. Thank you. Now back to the show. I love that because now Jenny and I, in today's age, we are doing magical spells over our modems because of a guest that we had on the show and protecting our computer screens. And
Sure.
yeah, I
Well, it's
love.
pretty crucial.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
I have another question. So, what is a nice witch like you writing encyclopedias of saints?
Oh, it shocks me too sometimes. I do not come from a saint family. I do not come, it's not something I grew up with in my childhood. But actually, when I started working on 5,000 spells, and I have a book that's never been published, but I was researching it around this, I began researching another book, and that became 5,000 spells. It sort of morphed. I was shocked. I didn't know about Catholic folk magic. I was shocked by how many saints there were. I mean, it was very shocking to me. And I had a very good friend, actually, the person I took when I wanted to make sure I was learning tarot correctly, doing it correctly. She was the person I happened to take the class from. And she was a saint lover. She was a lapsed Catholic who loved saints. And she encouraged me when I was having, I mean, it's in the introduction to 5,000 spells. I, I had a not very nice ex-husband and who would not go, well, long story, but she told me to petition Saint Rita. And I said, well, why? I'm not Catholic. Why would she help me? She said, just do it. And it worked. And it worked. And it was shocking to me. And I I have become a saint lover myself, and the book in question is Encyclopedia of Mystic Saints and Sages, and saints are not exclusively Roman Catholic, and they are not exclusively pious. Um, they come from many, many religious and spiritual traditions, and none. There are folk saints that have nothing to do with any kind of organized religion, or even a disorganized religion. And it was just, they are the thing with saints. And I recently edited Antonio Pagliarulo's book Queer Saints, which, if you haven't read, it's a great book, and he's just a wonderful writer. You have it. It's great. Saints, with very, very, very few exceptions, were once living people who, having died, have refused to go on to whatever the next world is, or at least not entirely. They are staying to help the rest of us. And because they have been human beings, they are particularly sympathetic to us. Saints have also been hungry or thirsty or broke or had sexual desire, maybe for an inappropriate person. Um, they've lived human lives in a way that some spiritual entities have not. Here I don't have Mystic Saints and Sages here, but this is Encyclopedia of Spirits, it was originally supposed to be one book. They were going to be, I wanted to have the saints and the spirits together. I wanted you to be able to look at Saint Bridget and Goddess Bridget side by side, but it got too big, which is, apparently my flaw. So they ended up as two separate books, which I guess was good because we were able to do more saints than I could have done if it had been in the original book. But there are spirits who have never had a human incarnation, and we're like, we're like puppies. Sometimes they like us, and they take care of us. But we see how people take care of their pets. Some people are wonderful and responsible, and some people get bored with them. And, you know, the fluffy, beloved puppy becomes the older, abandoned dog. But that doesn't happen with saints. They feel us, they get us. And so, yeah, I mean, it shocks me too. I don't know how I got here, but here I am.
And we love that you're here, and she's here on the show with her most recent magical spells oracle. Oh, Judika Illes. And you have another one coming out here soon or in September,
Prosperity
sister.
spells. Yeah, it'll be out September. Let me see if I have a copy to show you. Oh no, I have protection spells. I have seen a copy. It has rabbits instead of snakes.
Ooh.
The rabbits of good luck. Snakes for protection, rabbits for fortune and good luck and prosperity and increase. Um, so that one has these great black rabbits, and it's very similar in format to protection spells. It will be out in September. It is available. It's same size, same price. I've been thinking you could actually you could put them together and get a big deck. Press
Yeah.
protection and prosperity.
A mega
Um,
deck.
a
I'm
mega
doing
deck.
that. I'm already
A
doing that. You convinced me.
A mega deck, yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's the same thing, spells on one side, rabbits on the other.
I
I
love
love
that.
that 100% because now I'm like, okay, another trend on TikTok. Get both of these decks, the protection as well as prosperity, mix them up.
You're going to make me go on TikTok.
No, we'll do the work. Don't you worry. We got you.
We
We
got
got
you.
you. You keep editing and writing. I mean, you're a busy, busy, busy woman. Busy, busy woman. I'm going to
Yeah.
let little D out and turn it over to Jenny to ask any other questions. Completely.
Yeah, so I would love to know, because you talked about saints, if you have like a handful of favorite saints
Oh,
that
yeah.
are helpful to just witches in general, because we have a lot of new witches that listen to this and a lot of seekers that are just like spiritual seekers. And so like a couple of saints that maybe they could research a little or talk to or kind of get to know.
The two saints that are associated with witchcraft a lot. Now, this is unofficial information. If you go to official sources, they will tell you something else. But this is popular. Well, maybe I should give you three. St. Anthony of Padua, who is the finding saint, um, especially like in Italian magical folk traditions. He's kind of known as the witch doctor saint. I write a lot about him in my books, and in my experience, he is very effective. When we say the finding saint, if you can phrase it in terms of finding, then St. Anthony should be able to provide it for you. A lot of people will ask St. Anthony to, you know, find your. I mean, I am misplacing stuff all the time.
Me too.
It's like the glasses on top of your head, the phone, my purse, things like that. So it's like it's not gone. You just can't find it. St. Anthony's really good at finding stuff like this, but you have to. I was taught a rhyme. Tony. I'm from New York, and we call him Tony.
Yep.
There are other people who are more formal, St. Anthony, but Tony, look around. Something's lost and must be found, and then tell him what you need. Um, but he doesn't just find lost articles. He is famous for he finds jobs, he finds professions, he finds he's associated with prosthetics. If you need to find a heart transplant, he is a significant saint. If you need to find true love, if you need to find your life path. So he does, I mean, I wouldn't say small, you've lost your passport and you need it. That's a big thing. But he also does these larger concepts. You have to be able to phrase it as finding. And you can do it if you think about it. Sometimes it's just a little more challenging. But witchcraft will teach you to think. It will teach you to see. It will teach you to hear, and it will teach you to think. It's not. I find people mock it as the province of fools and idiots, but those are people who don't know anything about it. They've never actually done it, so that's just a judgment call. Another one, and people will get mad at me because I'm saying Saint Expedite, and it's Saint Expediti, Saint Expeditus, Saint Exped. What you can pronounce it however you want to pronounce it. He is the saint of fast action, and he is. People don't think he is an official saint, and by official that means canonized. But he is actually one of the first saints to be canonized. The earliest Roman Catholic saints were soldier saints, and that's not his name. That is a type of a Roman foot soldier. They're fast. They didn't carry anything with them, so they were very, very fast. And when you need something fast, money, um, maybe healing. He's a great healer. Something that he's the one who cuts through red tape. You need your passport, and it's just sitting on someone's desk, and you need them to hurry up and process it. He would be the go-to saint for that. And that's Expedite.
Thank
And
you. I was literally just writing it down. You are so intuitive.
uh, um, and they are actually, there's a lot of spells associated with them. So they are both in my Encyclopedia of Spirits as well as in Encyclopedia of Mystic Saints and Sages. And I think Michael Archangel would be the third one. People don't think of Michael as a witchcraft saint. Michael is venerated by so many different faiths and people and pagans, but he is a guardian, and he's good, capital G, good. He's righteous. And so Saint Michael, he's also very important in Italian folk magic and Italian magic. And he is, I can say, from when people say questions I'm asked, what is the spell you do most often? I invoke him twice a day, morning and night, because he is the one who will protect you.
I feel
Do
like we're best friends, Judika,
good.
because Tony gets called on all the time in this house, and I always say Archangel Michael is my homeboy. That's how
Yeah.
I describe it calling him twice a day. And I love that so much. I like couldn't stop myself. I had to like jump in because I've had people say to me, like I'll put something on social media and be like, Michael's an angel, you can't work with him because you're like a witch. And I'm like, no, honey, angels have been around before religion. Like he belongs to all of us. And he is like my go-to. And I always suggest to someone if like you're trying to like reach out to an aspect of divinity and you're kind of scared or timid, he accepts everybody.
I have an Encyclopedia of Spirits, a list of 5 or 6 spirits, including Michael Archangel. And that's a generic term. I use that for all kinds of spirits because I don't want to have a hierarchy. Because once you start calling someone goddesses and a god or goddess is up here, but maybe your fairy is more important to you than somebody else's. I wanted to equalize it. I want you to figure out what's most important for you. And I don't even know where I was going with this.
I love
I
that
love
though.
it.
I absolutely love that because it isn't magic isn't what I heard was
Oh, I
magic.
know where I was going. I'm
Good,
sorry.
tell us.
Go for it.
You can't. Don't ever let people say you can't.
Mm.
Because I have an author who just did a great. You will love this book. It's she's got a lot of runes in there if you're interested in something Nordic. Lauren Morris. The book will be out in July. Lauren Loren Morris, The Crafty Witch's Guide to Cord Magic, and she said something once online that really stuck with me. I'm a witch because I do what I want.
She's looking for the book because she just got it in the mail.
And yes, that's it. It's not even available in stores yet, I think. I'm a witch because I do what I want. So
I
I don't
love
want
that.
somebody to tell me, like, the banned books, you can't read this, you can't do that, you can't say this. Oh, yeah.
You're
The
making
great
me jump.
books.
You're making me jump up and show and tell. I am having so much fun. So yeah, Queer Saints is coming out as well
Queer
as
Saints is out. Queer Saints was
Out.
published June 1st, and I think that will be July 1st. So it'll be out soon.
We're
yeah.
birthday siblings. We're like book birthday siblings, me and Queer Saints, Divergent Witchcraft and
Oh,
Queer Saints
wow.
came out on the same day.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, wow. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's a prosperous and beneficial and wonderful day for both of you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I love it. So Jenny, do you want to ask the last question? We ask this of all of our guests.
Yeah, so it's very open-ended, so however you want to answer, but we are belief being and beyond, and so we'd love to know what you think lies beyond.
My favorite vision of what lies beyond comes from a novel, it comes from a work of fiction. It is Amy Tan's 100 Secret Senses, or maybe it's 1,000 Secret Senses, 100 Secret Senses. I read that book many years ago, and if you like, not to give anything away, but I love a reincarnation novel. And if you like a mystical spiritual novel, that's a great novel. But in it, so there are two sisters, two half sisters, one of whom is a skeptic and one of whom is very mystical, the older sister. And the skeptical sister kind of says to her, what happens after we die? She's questioning her and she describes and this may not even be from the book anymore because I have thought about this so much and adapted in my head. It's almost like, do you know those huge catering halls where you could have like 6 weddings, a bar mitzvah, a quinceanera, all going on at the same time? Maybe a memorial service. Well, they're different rooms, but it's the same building. And so there are all these different afterlives. And if it's not, so it's like if you're in love with someone, I don't know, you're a Catholic and you're in love with somebody who isn't, and you can go to you can go to theirs. Like you don't have to be separated. And if you go to a heaven, you go to an afterlife, and it's not happening for you, it's like crashing a party. Like imagine you're at a wedding, but you can see that the other wedding across the hall is a better wedding. That's just a better party. You can go there. Um, and I like that. I like that we're not we're not set. We have some choice. We don't have to be separated from people who, um, you know, and I say that, I know somebody who actually they were Catholic, and the husband and the child were Catholic, but the mother was Jewish, and he was working on converting her. And he told the child that they were going to go to heaven, but they better convert mom because otherwise she was going to go to hell. And what a terrible thing to say. What a terrible thing to say.
Yeah,
So, um, to a small child.
yeah,
And I think he really believed that.
yeah.
So I don't believe that. I think that if you're going to a good place, you don't have to be separated from your loved ones.
Mm.
And I also I don't believe that human beings have one soul. I believe we have multiple souls. And so maybe there's that soul that moves on to an afterlife realm. Maybe there's a soul that gets reincarnated. Maybe there's a soul that sticks around to watch over your loved ones here. There's a lot of beliefs that if you go to the cemetery, you go to where someone is buried, a part of them, a fragment is still there, and a powerful fragment, not fragment in a negative sense that they're powerless, but I think these are mysteries that we're going to find out, and that's exciting.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Because now I'm like, yeah, this part of me is going to watch over my son, whose
Right.
name is Michael, by the
Yeah.
way, right? But there's a part of me that wants to come back and, fill out an application to be a saint. I don't know if that's possible, but I mean, might as well wander, you
Yes,
know?
that is true of a lot of saints. A lot of saints announce before they die, or, some people come after they die, dreams or in visions. And, when I die, I am going to be, I'm not, I mean, I don't know if they use there are other words that indicate the same thing, but essentially, I'm going to be a saint. I can be reached if you need help. Um, then you can reach out to me, and sometimes they'll give you instructions for how to reach out to them. Sometimes they're quite explicit. I want to say that Saint Nick, I could be wrong on this, I'm working from my memory, but this is an Encyclopedia of Mystic Saints and Sages. Saint Nicholas, if you remember his parents, he'll help you, and I have the parents' name in the book.
Get the book, guys.
Yeah, so there are all kinds of different. There are saints that will, you know, if you go to my grave and you say these prayers, if you do this, if you do good deeds, if you do something, I will help you. So, I mean, it's fascinating.
I want to be one of those.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I'd like to think that you could still come and help.
yeah. Oh, I'm
But
not going to make it easy. I'm just going to show up like a crow. Like I'm going to be haunting you guys. What do we got? Oh, yeah.
Amy Tan, I was looking it up. It's The Hundred Secret Senses by Amy
yeah,
Tan for listeners that are like, I need to read that book because that
it's
was
a good
me
book.
because I love the Joy Luck Club. So you said Amy
Yeah.
Tan. I was like, I need to add this to my list.
Well, this book in particular is very magical.
Yeah, sounds like it. I'm adding it. It's gonna go on the Libby holds.
Let me know. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love it. We could just like spend all the time with you because this has been
Oh,
so much
thank you.
fun. I thank you so much, Judika, for coming on to the show. You can follow Judika on Instagram and Facebook. I'll put all of that in the show notes. Um, well, I don't even know how to end this beautiful circle. I don't think a circle has an ending. I really, really don't. This is full circle for me, with my big encyclopedia that I knew that I had to have, to having you on the show, to having you guys talk about Tony, Tony, Tony. I mean, the whole thing is just shows that we magic is so beautiful. Jenny, do you have anything else that you wanted to say before we sign off? Because I'm just floating now.
Just one more thing is it's prosperity, the prosperity oracle, and I think you said September 7th, right? So everybody should look for that, and you want to buy protection spells too, and then you're going to make a mega deck. So just a reminder for everybody.
That's ex that's exactly right.
Thank
You heard
you.
it here first, you guys. This is how we're going to do
Yes,
our magic. Yep, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Judika, for spending some time with us. And it has been an absolute honor.
thank you.
Absolute honor. And thank you guys for listening to yet another episode of Belief Being and Beyond. Blessings to you. 5,000 spells. You'll never run out. Get the Oracle decks and all of it. Anyway, we love you guys. Mwah. We will see you on the flippity flip. Thank you for listening to another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. Please subscribe and share with whomever would enjoy this podcast. And please leave us a review. We really, really appreciate that. For more about Granddaughter Crow, granddaughtercrow.com. There you can learn about her classes, sessions, and all of her books. And for more about Ginny C. Bell, please visit ginnycbell.com, where you can learn about her books, her classes, and Our Coven community. Thank you so much for listening.